Hello, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Hour, where I, your host, Rita Siddiqui, talks about infamous book and movie reviews. Today, we will be discussing the significance of survival, resilience, and forgiveness, which are substantial themes in the book Unbroken that captures the story of war prisoner Louis Zamperini. Unbroken, written by Laura Hillenbrand, discusses the life of Louis, who is an Italian immigrant living in Torrance, California. Louis progresses from a mischievous child into a prodigy sprinter and joins the 1936 Berlin Olympics with the help of his brother Pete. He then proceeds to the military, and his life suddenly takes a turn of events, where Louis would end up being a war prisoner, where his fundamental human rights would be stripped away from him. One major theme in the book is forgiveness. When one suffers due to another individual's action, he often finds it difficult to contend with forgiving that individual. In this book, one individual in particular, known as the Bird, was a Japanese soldier who tortured Louis on a constant basis, often beating him and forcing him into labor. Louis, even after surviving the war, had nightmares and contended with the horror of the Bird throughout his life. He later stood behind the core values of his faith and forgave the Bird as indicated in his letter he had written to him. To show Louis' forgiveness, he traveled back to Japan and met with all the Japanese soldiers who tortured him except for the Bird, so instead wrote him a letter. To Watanabe Matsuhiro, as a result of my prisoner of war experience under your unwarranted and unreasonable punishment, my post-war life became a nightmare. It was not so much due to the pain and suffering as it was the tension of stress and humiliation that caused me to hate with a vengeance. Under your discipline, my rights, not only as a prisoner of war, but also as a human being, were stripped from me. It was a struggle to maintain enough dignity and hope to live until the war's end. The post-war nightmares caused my life to crumble, but thanks to a confrontation with God through the Vigilance, Billy Graham, I committed my life to Christ. Love replaced the hate I had for you. Christ said, "Forgive your enemies and pray for them." As you probably know, I returned to Japan in 1952 and was graciously allowed to address all the Japanese war criminals at Sugamo prison. I asked them about you and was told that you probably had committed suicide, which I was sad to hear. At that moment, like the others, I also forgave you and now would hope that you would also become a Christian. Louis Zamperini. Another major theme depicted in the book is Louis' strong survival mentality. When he and his two partners survived from a crashing plane and spent several weeks on a raft, it was relatively difficult and deplete his health with no food or clean drinking water. There were many ways in which his skills of survival were tested. Once through his rebellious behavior and dealing with society until his brother came with a dream. He soon had to fight for achieving his goals as an Olympic runner, which he accomplished in his college year, and soon got enlisted in the army where he had to survive the cruelty and reality of war. Louis Zamperini's life illustrates that the most important key to survival is hope. Hillenbrand explains how he starts from being a mischievous and rebellious boy to a noble and dedicated young man with the help of his older brother and pushes Louis towards running and soon into an Olympian. Louis' resilience allowed him to survive during the war, but unfortunately made him lose the meaning of civilization. From his childhood to his college years, he constantly faced tasks that made him resilient, but soon through his journey, he experienced the unknown human conditions and stayed resilient throughout all the pain. One of his famous quotes known today is, "A moment of pain is worth a lifetime of glory." Throughout his struggles to survive, he believed that without dignity, identity is erased. It is with these three themes, forgiveness, survival, and resilience, Louis was able to pave his own mountain and fight his way through the storm. Now, many of you may be wondering what happened to his dream of running. Well, I will leave you with this short clip that shows Louis holding the Olympic torch in 1998, and like they say, dreams do come true when you truly believe.
Louis Zamperini had no competition. Who could possibly compete with that smile? The 81-year-old ran for a kilometer, didn't set any records, didn't need to.